Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. And here's a story I never thought I'd share. The last thing she said before I walked out was, Milton, don't be dramatic. He's just a friend. That sentence has lived in my head ever since, like a song stuck on loop. But it wasn't just what she said. It was when she said it, right after I watched her slow dance with him at her company's rooftop party, under a string of fairy lights she never bothered to tell me about. See, I wasn't even supposed to be there. She told me not to come, said it was a corporate-only kind of event. But something about the way she insisted, the too sweet smile, the way she double-checked the time and location but never once invited me. It all felt off. So yeah, I showed up anyway. Wore the only blazer I still fit into. Walked in through the service elevator because I wasn't on the guest list. I told myself I was just being paranoid. And then I saw them. She was in a red silk dress I'd never seen before, hair pinned up, laughing like she hadn't laughed in months. His hand was on her waist, hers, lightly resting on his shoulder like it belonged there. They weren't dancing. They were slow dancing, the kind that says, "We've done this before." I stood behind a column, frozen. People clinked glasses around me. Some guy spilled champagne on my shoe. I didn't move. I waited until the song ended. She leaned in and whispered something in his ear. He laughed. I walked out, quietly, no drama, no scenes. I didn't even slam the elevator button. At 4:17 a.m., while she was still asleep, I packed one bag. Left my work badge, house keys, wedding ring, and a sticky note that said, "You said he's just a friend." So I left you with him. I quit my job 2 days later. I haven't answered her calls since. But that was just the beginning. When she woke up, I imagine it took her a second to notice what was missing. The quiet probably felt normal at first. I was always up early, usually making coffee or clacking away on spreadsheets in the other room. But this time, the silence had a different weight to it. No jacket on the hook, no shoes by the door, no toothbrush, no me. And then she must have seen the sticky note on the kitchen counter, written in my dumb, shaky handwriting. You said he's just a friend. So, I left you with him. I used to leave her sweet notes like that, scribbled with hearts and dumb puns. Now it was a goodbye she never thought I'd have the guts to write. I didn't answer her first call, or the second. By the seventh, I blocked the number. Then she tried emailing, messaging through Facebook, then Instagram, then even Venmo. Her first message just said, "We need to talk." Her second said, "You're being crazy." The third, "Please, just let me explain." But she never once denied it, never said, "It wasn't what it looked like." Just explain. As if her version would rewrite the moment I saw her press her forehead against his. I wasn't in the mood for fiction. The hotel I checked into smelled like mildew and desperation. Thin walls, scratchy sheets, a vending machine that ate my dollars. But it was mine. And that first night, as I lay there staring at the water-stained ceiling, I realized something wild. I didn't feel relief. I felt stupid. Not because I left, but because I hadn't left sooner, because I'd ignored 100 tiny red flags over the years. The late-night team meetings, the locked phone, the way she used to giggle at texts and tilt the screen away when I passed. I convinced myself it was nothing, that I was the insecure one, that I just didn't get her work culture. And yet, I stayed, cooked her dinners, gave her foot rubs when she complained about standing too long in heels, said, "I love you," even when it felt like talking to drywall. I watered our dying houseplants while she watered lies. And worst of all, I still missed her. That part made me angry, not at her, at me. I missed the version of her I thought was real, the one that didn't exist, the one who didn't rest her head on another man's shoulder and call it harmless. I thought disappearing would end the pain, but the truth was it was only beginning to unfold, in ways I never expected. I didn't plan to open her email. I stared at the subject line for 10 full minutes. "Please, Milton, just read this." I hovered my finger over the trash icon twice, but curiosity is cruel. It creeps in once the anger fades, so I clicked. No greeting. Just a block of text that read like she'd rehearsed it in front of a mirror. She started with, "I know how it looked," then pivoted to, "You're jumping to conclusions." Somewhere in the middle, she tossed in, "You've always been overly sensitive, babe." That part nearly made me shut it down. It was classic Dana, the way she twisted my caution into weakness, like I was some emotionally fragile mess every time I raised a question. I could practically hear her voice behind the screen, oozing with faux concern while framing me as unstable. But then came the line that froze me. "I've attached something to help you understand the truth." I stared at the little paperclip icon like it was radioactive. It was a video, just 27 seconds long. The file name was proof.mp4, and honestly, that alone gave me chills. Who names a file proof unless they know something needs proving? I shouldn't have watched it, but of course I did. The video began with shaky footage. A woman filming from behind a tall centerpiece at the rooftop party. Dana was there, clearly unaware she was being recorded. So was the man in the gray blazer, Garrett, I later learned. He wasn't standing next to her. He was holding her, hands around her waist, close, too close. Dana's face was buried in his neck. Then they kissed. Not a cheek, not a joke. A full, slow, practiced kiss. The kind couples do when they think no one's watching. The clip ended right there. No commentary, no context. Just 27 seconds that undid 7 years. She'd attached this to defend herself? I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred and I dropped my phone on the motel carpet. For a moment, I thought it was a prank, that she accidentally attached the wrong file. But as the nausea settled, I realized, no, this was her move. Reverse psychology. Show me the worst, then spin the story so hard, I questioned my own eyes. The next email came 30 minutes later. "You watched it, didn't you? It wasn't what it looked like. Please pick up that phrase again. Not what it looked like." I'd heard it in movies, sitcoms, terrible reality shows, but it had never been directed at me before. It's funny how fast your world can collapse. One sentence, one file, 1 second of weakness, and everything you thought was built on love turns out to be made of sand. And the worst part? I hadn't even seen the full picture yet. What came next made the kiss look like child's play. I didn't sleep that night, not even a second. The motel room walls felt like they were closing in. Every shadow looked like her silhouette. Every vibration from my phone sent a jolt through my chest. I wanted to scream, but I didn't know who I was mad at anymore, her for doing it, or myself for still caring. I lay there on that stained mattress, listening to the hum of a vending machine and wondering how a life could unravel this quietly. At 3:42 a.m., I opened her email again. I knew I shouldn't have, but there was this burning question in my head. If she sent me that video to convince me, what was she hiding? She wouldn't be stupid enough to send something that incriminating unless she thought it was the lesser evil. That meant there was something worse, something she deleted. I still had her email password. She gave it to me 2 years ago when we were applying for a mortgage. I never used it, never even thought to, but now my fingers typed it automatically. Her inbox was a minefield. Messages from coworkers, newsletters, online orders. Then I saw the folder, trash. 58 deleted emails. The most recent were boring, coupons, spam. But 5 days before the gala, one subject line caught my eye. Hotel confirmation. 2 nights. Executive King. I opened it. It was a reservation under Garrett's name, paid in full. 2 guests. Arrival. The night of the company party. Departure. The morning after. The hotel was only 8 blocks from the venue. Convenient. Close. Secret. My chest tightened. She had planned this. She didn't get swept away in a moment. She scheduled it, reserved it, hid it, and deleted the evidence like it was nothing more than a receipt for a pair of shoes. I felt my throat close. That sting you get when you're trying not to cry in front of people. Except there were no people. Just me and a flickering motel lamp that kept making the shadows twitch. The next email was worse. A message from Garrett 3 days before the party. Should I bring the wine or the good stuff? Either way, I want to see that red dress again. You promised I couldn't move. I just stared at the screen, rereading the words until they blurred. Promised? Again? That red dress? So this wasn't even the first time? That was when something inside me broke for real. I wasn't angry. I wasn't devastated. I was hollow. Like someone had scooped me out with a spoon and left the shell behind. I thought leaving her would be the hard part. But no. The hard part was learning I hadn't even known her. The woman I shared my life with had a whole second script running behind the scenes. I was background noise in her story. And yet, I still hadn't reached the bottom. Because that night, while I sat in that room with my laptop on my knees and grief choking the air, I got a notification that made my skin go cold. Dana has signed into your cloud storage account from a new device. She was digging, probably trying to see if I had anything on her. She had no idea what she was about to find. The moment I saw the notification that Dana had accessed my cloud storage, I froze. Not because I was hiding something scandalous, but because I knew exactly what she was looking for. She thought I'd save screenshots, emails, maybe even the video. Evidence. She assumed I'd do what most betrayed spouses do: gather receipts, call lawyers, blow it all up. But I hadn't done any of that. Not yet. What she found instead was something far worse. Something she was never supposed to see. Buried in my cloud was a folder labeled Rescue Plan. It wasn't meant for her. It wasn't even meant to be real. It was a private mess of voice memos, journal entries, and late-night ramblings I recorded during the last year of our marriage. I called it Rescue Plan because back then, I thought I could fix things. I thought maybe if I documented how I felt, how invisible I was becoming, I could figure out how to reach her again. But those recordings weren't pretty. They weren't polished. They were raw, shaky, sometimes pathetic. Me whispering at 2 a.m. I don't think she loves me anymore. Or, she went out again tonight. Didn't say where. I smiled like a fool and told her to have fun. Dozens of files like that. A living record of every moment I made myself smaller, just to keep us together. And now, she'd listened. She must have realized I was watching, because 10 minutes later, a message popped up on my screen. One sentence. "You've been recording me?" I didn't answer. Not because I was guilty, but because I didn't know how to explain that I wasn't spying on her. I was trying to survive her. I was documenting my own erosion. She was just the storm. Then another message. "You're twisted. You need help." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the hypocrisy was so loud it echoed. I hadn't cheated. I hadn't kissed anyone in secret. I hadn't booked hotel rooms behind her back. I had cried into a pillow and begged the universe to give me something to hold on to. But sure, I was the twisted one. Then came the call. I didn't answer. But she left a voicemail. Her voice was shaking. This time, no gaslighting, no defensiveness, just fear. "Milton, I didn't know. I didn't know you were hurting like that. Please, just talk to me. We can fix this." And that's when I felt the shift. For the first time since this mess began, the power tilted. She wasn't in control anymore. She couldn't minimize my pain, couldn't twist my reactions into weakness. She heard the truth, not from me, but from my late-night whispers, my breaking voice, my ugly honesty. It scared her. Maybe because she realized I wasn't the doormat she thought. Or maybe because she finally saw what she had turned me into. But it was too late. I closed my laptop, stared at the motel ceiling again, and said it out loud. To no one, to everyone. I don't want to fix this anymore. The next day I'd make a decision that would silence her completely. Because while she was trying to clean up the mess behind her, I was about to burn the bridge ahead. The motel checkout was at 11, but I left at 7. I didn't say goodbye to the front desk guy, didn't take the complimentary stale muffin, didn't even glance back at the lobby where I'd sat for hours pretending to scroll while unraveling inside. I walked out into the morning air with one bag and a plan that scared me, even as I built it in my head. I wasn't going back home. I wasn't answering her calls. I wasn't going to cry into one more pillow, thinking maybe, just maybe, she didn't mean it. This time, I was going to do something that couldn't be undone. On the train ride back to the city, I drafted the message. It took me 2 hours. I rewrote it 11 times. Not out of kindness, I just wanted the tone to be perfect. Cold, not cruel. Calm, not passive. The kind of message that doesn't scream, it whispers. And still cuts deeper. By noon, it was ready. I didn't send it to her. I sent it to her boss. Then to her company's HR department. Then to the anonymous tip line they proudly advertise for ethical accountability. And attached to that message, the 27-second video she had emailed me herself. Her in the arms of Garrett, her laughing, her lips on his neck, time-stamped, location tagged, during a mandatory company event, on company time. But I wasn't done. I sent the hotel reservation receipt, then the flirty email Garrett had sent her. The red dress again, you promised. It was all there. No accusations. No dramatic explanations, just facts, just clarity. I didn't have to scream for someone to listen. 4 hours later, she called me again. I didn't answer. She texted, "What did you do?" I ignored that too. Then came a string of furious messages. "You're ruining my life. I could lose my job. This isn't who you are, Milton." That last one made me pause. Because she was right. This wasn't who I was. I was the guy who forgave, who made excuses, who smiled through humiliation. But not anymore. That man had walked out of our apartment the night she whispered, "He's just a friend," with lipstick on her teeth and secrets in her pocket. And then the silence came. No more texts, no more calls, no emails. Just this vast, echoing quiet that felt like standing in the middle of a scorched field. She was scrambling now, probably telling HR it was a misunderstanding, probably telling Garrett it was all my fault. I could practically hear her rehearsing a victim story, but I'd left no room for doubt, no room for her to twist it. For once, I wasn't the one trying to salvage something broken. I was the one who walked away with the fuse in my hand. Still, I didn't feel victorious. I didn't smile. I didn't cheer. I just sat in a corner of a bus terminal 3 towns over, sipping burnt coffee and wondering how long it would take for the fire to reach her front door. The silence lasted 3 days. No calls, no texts, not even a pitiful, "I miss you." I assumed Dana had gone full damage control, crafting the perfect lie, looping in HR, probably gaslighting herself into believing she was the victim. But I underestimated the one thing cheaters hate most: exposure. When everything slips into the light, they start to crumble, and then they lash out. On the 4th day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to. It wasn't Dana. It was a woman. She sounded breathless, nervous. "Is this Milton?" she asked. Her name was Kayla, Garrett's wife. "Yeah, you read that right." The man Dana had called just a friend, the man who kissed her at the gala, who booked a hotel room with her, was married. And his wife had just found out about all of it because Dana had finally cracked under pressure and tried to get ahead of the story. She reached out to Kayla, trying to come clean before it blew up worse. But what she didn't know was that Kayla had already received an anonymous email, one I didn't send, with all the receipts. Apparently someone else in their office saw the video too. Word had gotten around, quietly at first. But whispers became rumors. Rumors turned into screenshots. And then the truth started bleeding through every hallway of their company, like ink in water. Kayla told me everything. Garrett and Dana had been going on for months. Not just stolen kisses or one-time lapses. Full-on affair, out-of-town conferences, last-minute emergencies, and one business trip where both went off the grid for 3 days. She'd suspected something, of course. Like me, she'd gaslighted herself into silence. Like me, she had believed in the version of her partner that existed only in hope. But here's where it got worse. Garrett wasn't just Dana's coworker. He was her superior, her direct supervisor. That changed everything. Because suddenly, this wasn't just a betrayal. It was a violation of company policy. It was a legal liability. It was the kind of scandal that doesn't just get cleaned up with a forced apology and a team-building retreat. That afternoon, I got another message, this time from someone I never expected to hear from, Dana's father. We weren't close. The man barely spoke more than a few grunts at Thanksgiving. But now, he was calling me son, telling me how sorry he was. Not for what she did, but for what he hadn't seen. Apparently, Dana had told her family I'd run off and left her heartbroken with no warning. That story collapsed the moment her job called to confirm an official HR investigation, and she broke down in tears on her parents' couch. They saw the truth. Maybe too late, but still. I didn't know what to feel. I wasn't happy. I wasn't vindicated. I was just numb. Like everything I'd known had melted into some ugly, chaotic mess. And yet, somewhere under all that wreckage, I started to feel something else creeping in. Something unfamiliar. Clarity. Because for the first time in years, the lies weren't mine to carry anymore. A week after the investigation began, I received the final message I'd ever get from Dana. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even a goodbye. Just 3 words. "You win, Milton." As if this was some twisted competition. As if survival was victory. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. She lost far more than me. Her job, her reputation, her illusion of control. But me, I didn't lose. I let go. It took time. Healing isn't loud or cinematic. It's quiet. It's deleting photos without crying. It's waking up and realizing you didn't dream about her. It's walking past the wine aisle without remembering who loved red. And slowly, day by day, I stopped being the man who whispered pain into voice memos. I started becoming someone else. Someone I hadn't met yet. I moved into a small apartment on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, just mine. I started running in the mornings. It hurt like hell at first. I was out of breath by block 2, but each step felt like proof I was still alive, still moving, still mine. 2 months later, I applied for a new job, something far from finance, something that actually made me feel human again. I help small nonprofits organize community events. It's not glamorous, but people smile when they see me. I never realized how much I needed that. And one afternoon, while helping set up a local fundraiser, I met someone. Her name's Elena. She's smart, awkward in the way that feels real, and she laughs like she means it. No red dresses, no hotel lies. Just honesty, even in the uncomfortable moments. We're taking it slow, because now I know love isn't about clinging to someone who keeps slipping. It's about choosing peace over chaos. To anyone listening, here's what I'll say. Trust the silence. It tells you everything. Don't wait for proof you already feel in your gut. You don't need to catch someone to know you're being abandoned. You just need to choose yourself before they erase you entirely. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever had a moment where your life turned upside down, not from betrayal, but from clarity, I want to hear it. What moment in history or in your life made you realize things would never be the same again? Drop it in the comments. And don't forget, you're watching Reddit Confessions, where the truth isn't always clean, but it's always worth hearing. Until next time.